No.
Do you think that no matter what the Democrats do, they've got a lock on it?
No, nobody has a lock on it. I'll stick
That
my
much
stick
you'll-
my neck way out and say nobody has a lock on it.
Do you think at an earlier stage in the game they might have that the playing field's
Well,
become
I
a little
think
more
there's a
level
lot of
now?
evidence out there that this is a Democratic year. I mean, there's a lot of evidence
So
to
it's theirs
support
to
that.
mess up.
But the presidency can never be seen totally through that prism because personalities and other factors play such a large role.
This is sort of a preservation question, I suppose. But did you watch any or all of John Adams when it was?
Unfortunately, I did not, even though David McCullough is a good friend of mine.
Well, you know the story.
Yes, I do know the story, right.
And,
Yes,
and I believe John Adams was the first president to live in the White House.
that's correct.
And there's some startling images at the end when he's leaving the White House and he's walking out of this sort of, it's a building in progress. And he walks out into a swampland and gets in a carriage and rides away. And then, all you've got to do is walk down Pennsylvania Avenue now, or what's left of it there where the White House is. And it's a fortress. And it's as if it's not even part of this city anymore. And I think what I wanted to find out from you is, when did the White House, under which president did the White House most represent what it was meant to be as the president's home, its place in our city, its relation to our city?
Well, that covers a lot of American history because
It's your field.
because you're right. The White House goes back more than 200 years
Yeah.
now. The period of our American history that I'm most familiar with in this regard is the Civil War period in Lincoln's presidency. And the contrast, I think, going back to the point when John Adams left the White House is instructive, and is certainly instructive going forward to the present day. You could, and many people did, go to the White House at that point, ask for the president, and as often as not get in.
You could knock on the door.
You could knock on the door. As a total, one of the members of the regiment I wrote about did that just as a lark to see. It's sure the president came to the door and asked him what he was doing there.
Right.
And more importantly, a lot of lobbyists and job seekers went looking for him. I mean, he was besieged by office seekers when he first came to Washington, which is one of the reasons that he discovered what we now call the President Lincoln's Cottage,
The Soldiers'
the
Home.
Soldiers' Home, which is just 3 miles north of
Which
here.
was a pet project of yours.
It was indeed.
You had your
and-
birthday party there, right?
Boy, are you well informed, huh? That's true.
Maybe it was a famous party.
Yeah, no. But it was a retreat. It was the Camp David of his day.
Yeah.
But it was a 45-minute carriage or horseback ride. He spent a quarter of his presidency there. Literally a quarter of his presidency, because he loved it.
And I think people should know, you just opened it
We
in
just
February,
opened it, and
wasn't
you're
it?
all invited.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We just opened it.
It's quite
and,
a work.
You could do one of your Q&A
I would
cafe
love
things
to.
out
Can
there.
I interview you?
Yes,
No, I was going to say
right.
Lincoln, but
Lincoln.
I don't think we have to work
Probably
on that.
not available.
Oh,
But
we can do a conjure, but this, I would imagine to you this is a personification of what your job is. what you
in
did.
one way, a big part of preservation, and the reason the National Trust for Historic Preservation was chartered by the Congress in 1949 was to do what we call the House Museum thing. And we're very proud of that. Here in Washington, we have the Decatur House and the Woodrow Wilson House on S Street, and Woodlawn and out in Mount Vernon and others in the area.
I guess Mount Vernon's the crown jewel, right?
Yes, it's not our site, but it's a wonderful site. And now the President Lincoln's Cottage, Soldiers' Home, is our newest National Trust site in Washington. So it is open to the public. We're getting a lot of traffic through there. It's a different kind of museum experience. You won't find any velvet ropes and very little furniture in it.
Right.
It's a museum of ideas, and the ideas of Lincoln and his presidency.
I guess the best time to go is summer, because that's when he enjoyed it, right? That's when he used it.
He did. He would go out there from June through November, and they would load up about 11 wagons at the White House with furniture.
An early motorcade.
An early motorcade, exactly. And all the household staff and the family, and they'd go out there, and then he would commute back and forth. He was Washington's first commuter, up and down Vermont Avenue.
But not back and forth. I mean, when you went for the day, you went for the day. You didn't.
No,
say,
he came back and forth every day.
Yeah, but you couldn't get halfway there and turn around
No.
and get back on the Beltway.
Right.
The interesting thing about Lincoln and what you're saying is, but bring it up to now. If you have a president, if you have a White House that people can't even go to anymore,
Right.
what's the point of it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the great tragedies of our intense security
I
consciousness.
mean, we know why this happens.
Yeah.
Scary things happen, and
Yeah,
then we
scary
throw up
things
more
happen.
barricades.
Right, exactly.
But at a certain point, when your White House is sitting in this section of the city that nobody can approach anymore, and all it has in front of it are inline skaters playing stick hockey.
No.
Was that what the plan was?
No, it was not the plan. I totally agree with that. There has to be a better way to do that. Security is obviously important, but we shouldn't let the security people make every single decision. There have to be some trade-offs.
I wonder sometimes if maybe the president now shouldn't really be living at Mount Vernon. You know, that it's a
Right.
more logical
Right.
location because
Right.
you could secure him and remove him from everybody,
yeah,
and we could
no, if they got-
reclaim that developers could put up.
Yeah.
They could put a Walmart there, right?
Yeah, right. If they got some running
You're
water, it'd be really
you're supposed
good.
to, you know, flash when I say
Right.
Walmart. Yeah, but it is. I'm sure that for you, you must walk around this city and see examples of places that have not yet been given your protection.
Well, this is a very historic city, and I'm delighted to be here in the very historic Nathans and the very historic Georgetown.
We need protection.
Yeah, right. Washington has a very strong preservation ordinance, and a lot has been preserved here, and the federal presence has something to do with
But
that.
you have a list of places that you would love to get landmark status that haven't gotten it yet.
Well, yeah, that's much more of a local function. We don't really do that, and we don't run the National Register, determine who's the landmark. That's the National Park
Right,
Service
but-
that does that. And sometimes we help people to get on those lists. But more of what we do is to help state and local preservation organizations and individuals preserve and protect what they're trying to protect and preserve. So we're much more of a facilitator.
You're the
in that
go-to
regard.
guy. Well, I was your website, by the way, is excellent,
Thank
and
you.
there's just so much there. But one of the things that was particularly interesting is the program you have for grassroots groups who want to preserve something.
Right.
And what is that called again?
The state and local partners?
Yeah, well, it's got a particular name, but it's one
Oh.
of your links. But it's a center, and you go to it, and then they will basically help you
Yes.
to anywhere in the country. You could just go to them, and your people will set you up.
That's right. We'll try to link you with a local organization
So-
or somebody who can
So
work
they give
with
you your book bag of
Yeah,
what you need. I was also fascinated that you've got this massive travel department. It would seem to me that a family looking for a place, where should we go this summer? You've got this list of, well, you've got most distinctive destinations. I thought this was This
Right.
is your list: Aiken, South Carolina; Apalachicola, Florida; Columbus, Crested Butte, Fort Davis, Friday Harbor, Washington; Portland, Oregon; Portsmouth, New Hampshire; Red Wing, Minnesota; St. Genevieve, Missouri; San Juan Bautista, California; Wilmington, North Carolina. How do you decide these places?
You could do that in just a couple of weeks with all those places.
Well, you could.
Well,
Yeah,
they
this
get
is a-
nominated, but that's something we do to try to encourage people to go to more remote, probably smaller communities that they haven't heard
Have
of.
you
but
been to all these places?
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
no,
dear.
no. I wish I could. I've been to some of them. But there are great places in this country, and they're not all just the big cities.
Right.
You know, my favorite small town in America is Silverton, Colorado.
Why?
Very remote. It's in the San Juan Mountains, and it's right over the mountains from a place that we have in Colorado, my son built. But it is very. It's an old mining town, and there's a lot of these in Colorado. And there are a lot of people who really care about, even though the mine's closed and the processing mill is closed, they care about their heritage, and they're now using their heritage to promote historic tourism, and it's working. The most powerful organization in town is the San Juan County Historical Society, which runs basically all the tourism programming.
Right.
They've bought real estate, they've developed all kinds of things, but it's just my model, my ideal of what a community can do to serve itself and preserve its heritage. But there are a lot of places like that.
Do we have any here locally? Do we have any towns here locally that are a day trip or, you know, an easy drive that you think represent that same thing?